Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And once again, welcome. Happy to have you join us this morning. My name is Jill Hawthorne. I'm class of 87 and Associate Director of Constituent Engagement and Campus Partnerships. The Family Orientation Program is brought to you by the Alumni and Family Engagement Office, but made possible only by our speakers' generous time and support. So today we have a panel of folks who I call my professional kin. I worked in Pitzer's Student Affairs Office as an Associate Dean and Director of Academic Support. It was an honor, a challenge, and a gratifying job, and especially so for working with so many students. I have known and worked with many of the panelists here for more than 10 years, and I can tell you they are dedicated to their work, dedicated to the mission of the college, and to the Pitzer community. They love working with students, and they are a great team, and I really just love being here with them today. So thank you, panel, for your time today, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to the panel to welcome and introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Jill, and we love you right back on behalf of Student Affairs. I'm Sandy Vazquez, and I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs. My preferred pronouns are she, her. I've been at Pitzer now. This is my 5th year that I'm honored to be able to serve our community and our students at Pitzer. I'll go ahead and allow our dynamic leaders here on our panel to go ahead and introduce themselves. We'll go ahead and start with Miriam.
Sure, my name is Miriam Merrill, she, her, and I'm the Director of Pomona-Pitzer Athletics.
And you'll
Hi. Oh, sorry. I'm excited. Hi, I'm Stephanie Hannant. I'm Assistant Dean and Case Manager here at Pitzer, and I'm going into my 5th year, and I go by she, her. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Alayna Session-Goins. I'm an Associate Dean of Students and Director of Campus Life. I just finished up 10 years at Pitzer, and my pronouns are she and her.
Thanks, Alayna. My name is Kirsten. I'm one of our Associate Deans of Students and the Director of Residence Life and Conference Services. I've been at Pitzer about 9 years now and use she, her pronouns, and I think we're rounding it out with Brad Tharpe.
Good day, folks. I'm lucky to work with such good colleagues. I'm Brad Tharpe. I'm the Director of Career Services here, he, him, his pronouns, and I have been here for about 6.5 years. So welcome to everyone.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to go ahead and just dive right in. Just want to provide you an overview of what topics we'll be covering today. And really that's an understanding of what is student affairs, talking a little bit about our different offices, our staff, some of our highlighted initiatives for this coming year, our Pitzer Pathway Forward Return to Campus plans and website that will be coming up at, the next session, and just highlighting some others that you can anticipate this week. And then opening it up for any questions and answers that you may have. So the role of student affairs really serves as a hub for student holistic growth, development, helping students along their pathway as they explore their interests, their passions from a co-curricular perspective, but also linking those interests to what they're learning in the classroom, and overall really trying to aspire to help them thrive in that pathway of exploration and launching forward as they develop interpersonally, personally, and their engagement with others, really the development of lifelong learners, both here during this precious time here at Pitzer and beyond their years here at Pitzer College. Our hope is to have meaningful and lifelong connections that will sustain them throughout the lifetime to Pitzer here. So just a brief overview of our offices. Our Dean of Students area provides oversight for our on-call and after-hours student support. Our Dean of Students Emergency Fund, we also have a loan library that has been pretty active, especially during the pandemic, where students were able to check out laptops, video webcams, noise cancellation headphones. They also have textbook loan options as well. We also oversee student conduct, the Center for Asian Pacific American Students, and a one-stop student support center that was again developed during the pandemic, but our, by student voice is going to be here to stay permanently. We also have student transportation services under this area that we'll touch on a little bit later.
And then next we have academic support and wellness. That's me. So it is going to be academic accommodation through Dean Tempestoso, case management, which is me meeting with students one-on-one, academic support and coaching through Connie Helland. We have wellness programming through Strive to Thrive, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then we also have peer health educators who facilitate wellness programming with our students.
And I'll cover most of the residence life topics in the upcoming slides. It's just kind of an overview of what our area does, including residence life. That's our RAs, our lead-in staff members, creating community here in the residence halls, doing housing selection, participating in our class-based co-curriculum, supporting that on-call structure Sandy spoke about, and then conference services as well.
So I'm going to be covering our student government, our student senate, which is a part of the shared governance process, student involvement and student engagement through clubs and orgs, through programming and other co-curricular opportunities, as well as orientation and the Gold Student Health and Wellness Center.
I'm going to offer now the first of two plugs I'm going to give in this session today. We're honored to do a full session on career exploration and planning at Pitzer at 1:30 Pacific time today. So we hope folks will be able to join us for that. Let me just say very briefly here, we've got a lot of resources and opportunities for students to discover more about themselves, their gifts, their talents, their interests, their values, to explore the variety of career opportunities and options that are out there for them, and then to achieve whatever goals those students set for themselves. So we're here to walk alongside students in that very important process.
And then lastly, I'll talk about ways in which students can move their bodies, engage in fitness, wellness, and all of those types of programming.
And then we also have what is known to be as the Claremont College's resources, and the acronym here is TCCS. And that includes the shared services of student health services, Monsoor counseling, Student Disability Resource Center, Health Education Outreach, Chicano Latino Student Affairs, Office of Black Student Affairs, the chaplains, campus safety, library, and the bookstore. And together we partner across departments to really try to enhance and maximize the best possible resources and opportunities for student engagement and social life. So just a little bit of an overview of some of our fall 2021 trends. As you could imagine, we are continuing to remain vigilant in our responsiveness to COVID-19 and the Delta variant. We continue to evaluate ongoing guidance and the fluidity of that. We are very proud of the hard work that has been over a year long of planning that the team has continued to undergo. We are so excited to have your students return to campus. It has been wonderful to be able to reunite with them. And I can't say it enough. I've shared this in many different spaces. The vaccination rate of our students, it's just remarkable, and really speaks to our students continuing to live out not only our core values, but being mindful of each other in action. We recognize that wellness and mental health is going to continue to be a priority that we have intentionally prepared for. We recognize that on the heels of, having gone through this major life shift for all of us in living through the pandemic, living through racial injustice across the nation, that, students may arrive here and it may, they may experience different periods of, maybe it might be homesickness, maybe it might be trying to make sense of what they just navigated, but also that readjustment to campus life. And together with that also comes enhanced academic support services for students that we recognize and are prepared and equipped to be able to provide our students. The third prong, as you've probably seen, is so many efforts across the college to launch our centralized Pitzer Pathway Forward website so that there's a one-stop center for communication and updates for the community, for students, for faculty and staff on our return to campus planning. And lastly, community rebuilding. We can't say it enough, and we see it in our students here, just their excitement to be able to reunite and connect, not only with the beloved Pitzer community that they love and the campus physically, but also with each other. I wish you can observe and see what we see here on the ground when students come together, the innovation, the creativity, that special bond that unites our community. And so we'll be focusing a lot on that. You'll probably hear your students talk about weeks of welcome. That's part of our co-curriculum, where we will be focusing on building community internally before we launch in mid-September our shared 5C consortial student club and organization fair. And so, you know, look out for those opportunities so you can observe and see the types of engagement that your students will be able to be a part of, including a student resource fair, you know, for students here. Folded into that, as Brad mentioned, is the Pitzer Career Services Job Fair and more signature programs across the college.
Yes, so we have a lot of ongoing student support. We're, you know, really preparing for a lot of wellness and mental health needs. So we have basic needs, housing insecurity, and CalFresh. We're a CalFresh campus where my counterpart, Kirsten Williams, will be helping students who need access to food and other support. We are really focusing on international student support this year. One of our students created a wonderful guide for international students, so I'm working closely to provide support with those students. And then we also have a lot of funding support for our high need communities if they need support with housing, with mental health needs, therapy, anything. You know, we're trying to provide as much access and support as possible. Tech support. We have our Strive to Thrive program that I'll talk about more in a second, where we're providing a lot of mental health and wellness support through Wellness Wednesday programming and workshops. We have 7C Health, which is providing teletherapy and medical, providing medical support for students who might be experiencing any kind of symptoms 24/7. And then we have fall 2021 planning. We have mental health and wellness ambassadors, which is a new position for students to help me and my counterparts here to provide workshops for students and advocacy and other stuff like that. We have welcome event through the next 2 weekends. We're providing all students with basic needs, essential needs kit with shampoo and conditioner and body soap, and it has our cute little logo for Strive to Thrive on it. We have mental health co-payment support, like I mentioned before, through the funding that we receive from the federal government. We don't want that to be a barrier for students to get, you know, any services they may need. And then we have health and wellness, the outreach facilitator who just started, Kristen Williams. She'll be working more on CalFresh, Wellness Wednesdays, and then I'll be focusing more on case management and mental health and wellness. And then for our next thing is going to be Strive to Thrive. And so hopefully you're following me on Instagram. It's PZ Strive 2, the number 2 Thrive. So I better see a bunch of follows after this. And it's really just a wonderful program. It's a health and wellness campaign that we started in 2019. The Instagram part is fun. It's a lot of wellness tips, support, and stuff like that. It's also our Wellness Wednesday, our signature programming. In fall, it's really going to focus on connection, community building, just holding space for students who just, it's been a really rough 18 months and it's still going. So we want to provide just that space for students just to connect with one another. And then we have just one-off workshops for self-care, grounding, coping skills. I'm a big fan of Slinkies, essential oils, lots of just, we have happiness journals we're going to be passing out. So just a lot of really good skill building and support. And then a part of Strive to Thrive is also Campus Well, which is an online blog that focuses on the 8 dimensions of wellness. Again, another free resource. And then the last thing that we offer is Sakai. So through your students' portal for PZ self-care kit on Sakai, it's again another wellness library that can be accessed 24/7 with all the 8 dimensions of wellness, spiritual, financial, social, and all those other things. And then, yeah, and then the other part of it is, I'm a part of the case management part. And so if a student wants to meet with me to discuss self-care, wellness, finding therapists off campus, any of those kind of things, I'm your go-to. So that rounds out the Strive to Thrive campaign. And again, we have just a ton of Claremont 7C resources. Like I mentioned before, CalFresh, QRC, Student Disability Resource Center, Empower. So I work closely with all these TCCS, like Sandy said before, resources where I can refer on campus, and then off campus or virtually, we have, peer-run warm lines through San Francisco has a wonderful program, assessment referrals, mental health clinics off campus. And then again, I want to put into the chat my health and wellness website, so then you can get more resources and support. It's a really great breakdown of different stuff, nationally through the state of California, Claremont. I want to make sure resources are accessible for everyone. And so please check out that website, or you can email me directly for any referrals or resources. So lots of mental health and wellness. I'm here for you in self-care, and I'm going to pass this on to Career Services and Brad. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. I love the logos, and Stephanie's Instagram is amazing. So check it out if you haven't already. So as I said earlier, we will do a full session on career exploration and planning at Pitzer this afternoon. So for right now, I would just like to focus my comments on on-campus student employment. A lot of students come to Pitzer and want to find on-campus jobs. So as many of you may be aware from your own experiences, on-campus jobs can be really powerful. They can be a good career development opportunity, help students gain some skills and be in professional environments. They really help Pitzer, help us accomplish our mission in all sorts of ways. And they can also, of course, provide needed funding to students. So just a couple of things that this information has been communicated to students, but just so you're aware, on-campus positions will all be posted in Handshake. Handshake is actually the primary career services management platform for all of the Claremont colleges. So hopefully your students will use it in all sorts of ways. And one of those ways is they can look for open positions. Students will need to follow the directions for those postings and to apply to those positions. The reason that's important is that some of our campus departments or our consortial departments will actually gather applications through the system, through Handshake, where others just want students to contact them directly. So students will need to pay attention to the directions in those postings. Also a good experience for students to gain some experience in paying attention to those details. The students are asked to complete a very simple student employment information form that they will share with all the positions with which they apply. It provides some basic information in terms of the student's availability, contact information, and those kinds of things. And then the last thing for students to be aware of is that we are doing, as Sandy mentioned earlier, an on-campus job fair. It's on Thursday, September 2nd. That's the Thursday of the first week of classes from 3:30 to 5. And right now we're planning to do that as an outdoor distanced fair, but in person. So we hope students will participate in that. So again, campus employment can be really powerful and helpful for lots of reasons. And if you or students have questions about that, we're happy to address those. With that, I think I'm ready to turn it over to Miriam.
All right, thanks. So I met with a lot of student athlete families yesterday. So today my conversation will mainly stem around kind of our intramural club sports and recreation. But first I want to tell you what we're super excited about. So on the left is a picture, just a snippet of the new building, athletics, fitness, recreation building that will be open in fall of 22. So we are super excited. Until then, of course, we have the GSC that is open for student athletes or students, to kind of work on their fitness needs, as we really know just how important it is potentially for students who are being taxed mentally, right, to make sure that they are moving their bodies in a very intentional way. So some other ways that students can engage is intramural sports. So we have 15 team and individual sport offerings. So some of those examples would be basketball, soccer, club sports, individual sports as well, basketball, right? All of those club sports, they actually compete with outside institutions, while intramural competes within the 5 Cs. And then we have our recreational offerings, as I talked about, the Gold Student Center. We have a temporary fitness center on Pomona's campus. We'll also be offering outdoor fitness classes. And for those of you who may be aware, CMS has the Roberts Pavilion, which will be open to us in October, provided that we don't have any changes with LA or county guidelines that may change that. But we do have a lot of offerings. Again, one thing that I do want to stress is that students do make intentions to move their bodies. Again, it really is important for them to kind of think about the holistic development of themselves here while they're on campus. So I think next I will throw it over to Alayna.
So I am really excited to see all of your students come in. As you can kind of tell from the list of areas of oversight that I work with, I'm very student-centered, and the team that I work with is very student-centered. And so as we return our students back to campus, we know that a lot of them have been engaging on Zoom over the last year and a half and trying to find community. And my hope really is that we can support our student orgs, our student organizations and clubs, in ensuring that they can get up and running in person, have their business meetings when they can do so safely. We're ensuring that our identity-based meeting spaces are open and available for students that are a part of different affinity groups on campus to come together. Obviously, we're going to be encouraging and training everybody on kind of safe use of indoor space and how to encourage them to use outdoor space for different programming. But we are very committed to working with students as well as working with the Campus Life staff on providing kind of campus programs for both Pitzer students. Specifically during the first 3 weeks, we really want to hone in on the importance of building Pitzer connections. And so we're going to be doing a good amount of programming in that first month. And then as Sandy said earlier, after the third week of classes, we're going to open up and we're going to have a big 5C student organizations fair where all the campuses will actually come to Pitzer and have our annual 5C student orgs fair. And so we're all about, hearing students' interest, hearing students' desires for building community, for putting on programs and really supporting them through our professional staff. As Miriam just spoke about, we do run the Gold Student Center, which is a fitness center as well as kind of where we host fitness classes. We have our student activities and campus life office, and we have our big multi-purpose room and the Shakedown Cafe. And so the Gold Student Center kind of is multifaceted, but really we want to encourage students to utilize the space to both build community as well as build themselves physically and whatnot. And so Lynette Bersasi is our manager, and she's getting the center up and running, getting fitness classes together, trying some new opportunities with water fitness, personal training. And so we really are going to encourage our students to use the Gold Center. And then last but not least, Campus Life is also responsible for orientation. So you can go to the next slide, Kirsten, but we are currently in training with all of our orientation leaders. They got here yesterday and they are so excited to see you all this weekend. And so just a reminder, our first years are going to be moving in on Saturday. There'll be a few transfers also moving in. Sunday, all of our sophomores will move in as well as the rest of the transfers. And then we have about 6 or 7 days of programming. We're going to be spending 4 days on campus within their orientation groups. We've kind of pivoted to having small group sessions that are very discussion and debrief based. We are going to be having to use Zoom because we really don't want to have too many people in any space at any given time, just for safety purposes. But a couple of the different topics that we're going to be hitting on again is student well-being, academic opportunities for Pitzer students, and academic support and resources, and then some different educational sessions on everything from equity and inclusion to sexual assault prevention and alcohol and other substances. We're also definitely going to be having a lot of social opportunities for students to kind of get to know their orientation group in a small setting, start to build some relationships. And we'll be integrating a lot of breaks, a lot of rest, a lot of downtime, because we understand students are coming from different places with different levels of the ability to interact. And so we're definitely including that. And then I'm very excited that we're able to run our orientation adventure program. This year, it's 2 days for both our first years as well as for our sophomores and transfers. And your students should have already found out what trip they've been placed on and the gear they need, the waiver they need to fill out, all that kind of stuff. But as I said, we're currently in training. We're getting all of our orientation leaders ready to meet you on Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully welcome your students just to this family and to this community.
I want to point out really just how proud I am of all of the innovation, the creativity that has gone into all of this planning to make this possible by the team, Alayna and her leadership, but also, just to share a little anecdote with you, our Strive to Thrive program was made possible by a gift from one of our families, and that's the Raskin family. And we are so pleased that we are intentionally enhancing the collaboration between the Strive to Thrive program, the Campus Life and Gold Student Center, and Pomona-Pitzer Athletics to really bring students the most optimal, holistic well-being support possible. And so I really just want to applaud the team for coming together in such an intentional way to support our students.
Well, I think it's my turn. We're going to wrap up here with residence life and some housing stuff. Again, my name is Kirsten, and hopefully you as well are following us on Instagram at PZResLife. We post lots of good reminders and updates. As we approach move-in, there's lots of good reminders coming out from the at Pitzer College Instagram and Facebook accounts as well. So make sure you are following us there to get those friendly reminders popping up for you. I have to also pretend that we're, all in Benson Auditorium right now, and you just moved your students in so that we can get you the right information. And so my info here is a little bit more practical because you're not in front of me, you're on Zoom. And so I'll try to get you some of the information that I usually hear from families on move-in days, which are coming up this weekend. So I'll try to speak towards that and hopefully proactively answer some of your questions. But please know a lot of our staff will be available as well during the upcoming move-in weekend as well. So what is residence life? What do we do? We definitely do housing generally. So housing selection processes, some folks call that room draw, getting folks into bed spaces, getting them their meal plans. Those are all things that we do. We have a central residence life office. We have supplies available here. And so that's everything from toilet paper to cleaning supplies to brooms and vacuum cleaners. We also do key access for your students' rooms here in our central office. This year, we are obviously supporting our quarantine and isolation housing as well, providing robust kind of holistic support for students who are either entering into travel quarantine after international travel or if they're in close contact. Again, we're going to talk more about that in our next session. For the residence life kind of side of the house, we are partnering very closely with Alayna and her crew in Campus Life for our class-based co-curriculum, providing experiences for each of our class years, our first years, our sophomores, our juniors, our seniors, that really aims to move student learning through their time here on campus. And so they get hit with a lot of introductory stuff in that first year, but by their junior year, let's talk a little bit more about academics and declaring that major and working on internships and career services topics. And hopefully by their senior year, they're even more advanced in their learning. So our co-curriculum is again a partnership across the college with academic affairs, with advancement, with everyone here in student affairs as well to support that student experience as they move through their time on our campus. These 5 areas here are 5 goal areas of the co-curriculum. I wanted to point out specifically building community and wellness are top 2 priorities there as we come back into this fall semester. We're always working on individual development as students grow and learn in their time here on campus, educational engagement, making sure they're successful students, engaging in the classroom and outside the classroom, and of course diversity and inclusion as well, challenging our students to think differently, get new experiences, and hopefully learn about others in this really diverse environment here on this college campus. We also have live-in professional and paraprofessional staff members, so resident assistants live on every floor in our first year complex, as well as in our upper class buildings. Those are student leaders that are here for on-call responsibilities, for programming, helping build community, bring folks together. And so RAs are wonderful kind of front line that your students will get to know. Our residence directors are master's level professionals. They live in the halls. They're providing supervision for those RAs, on-call support as well, and participating in that co-curriculum. We also have faculty in residence. We have 2 faculty in residence right now, one in the first year complex and one in our sophomore year experience complex this fall. Those faculty provide robust programming here as well. They'll bring other faculty members into the residence halls to do major exploration, talk about current events and things that are happening in the news, and they're just a wonderful resource. That's Andrea Scott and Suyapa Portillo, who have been our faculty now for to be their 4th year, so they're very good at it. We also do a lot of programming, obviously, in the residence halls, just to bring folks together, whether it's a welcome program or a floor dinner, or a chance to talk about community expectations. Especially in this fall semester, we will make sure we hit our roommate and suite mate agreement processes, very thoroughly. Our students are all required to sign up for that appointment with their RA to have a structured conversation with the folks that they're living with about what their expectations are for the space. And that's, again, everything from guest policy to COVID expectations this fall to who's going to pick up toilet paper and clean the bathroom, because we don't clean the students' bathrooms. They're all in suite and they do need to clean them themselves. So those are really important conversations, especially in this fall, that we will help them facilitate. And as I said, we all serve on the on-call rotation as well and are here. And many of our folks live with your students, so here kind of 24/7. I wanted to hit again those more logistics topics. I've been getting these questions a lot from folks on the Really Active Family Association Facebook group, so thanks for all the questions. I'm not going to go through this point by point, but we do have the opportunity for folks to pre-ship things to campus if you haven't already done that, and you can get them from our mailroom once you get here. But when your student is here, I wanted to make sure you knew how you can send them the things, and so whether that's to our mailroom directly, which is only open Monday through Friday, or potentially using the Amazon locker that's on campus. If there is a weekend package that needs to get into your students' hands, there is an Amazon locker here on campus as well. And your students do have box numbers. We don't ship to the students' rooms. It does ship to our central mail room. So make sure you get your student's box number. That's on their My Campus 2 portal under the students tab. So get that, write it down hopefully before they head off here this weekend. As like I said, in residence life, we do administer the meal plans on campus. We work very closely with our dining services colleagues. All of our students who live on campus are required to have a meal plan. There's one exception this year, and that's for our students who are at the Claremont Collegiate Apartments participating in our Pitzer at CCA experience. Those are apartment style, they have kitchens, and so we are allowing those students to be completely off a meal plan for this fall semester, but most of your students are probably here in our first year experience housing, our sophomore housing, and so they'll probably be on that 16 meal plan or a 12 meal plan. 16 meal plan means you get 16 meals in 1 week. Our week goes Sunday through Saturday. Saturday's the end of the meal week. With that 16 plan, you get 160 of flex dollars. Flex dollars are just a little bit more flexible. You don't have to spend them as one swipe in the dining hall. It's a declining balance. You have to use it by the end of the semester, and they can use that for buying a coffee or a pastry on the way to class in the morning, grabbing a yogurt, getting some late night food maybe at the shakedown, if they've already used their meal swipes for the day, or if they want to save a meal swipe and use some flex instead. So if you are counting how many meal periods there are in a week and thinking, well, a 12 meal plan equals they probably are missing a bunch of meals. That's right, they are. And so students that want a little bit more flexibility to potentially eat off campus in the village more often, potentially they're going to eat with their athletic team, or do something a little different that's not just in the dining hall, then maybe the 12 meal plan is right for them, and that 120 flex goes along well to again help fill the gaps that they might have. So those are the 2 main meal plans. We do have a 5 meal plan for off-campus students as well. And there's a little bit more about what the flex dollars are below there. Here's a little bit more about dining services, because again, this fall semester, it is a little different because there is no crossover dining, as you all probably know, as far as our students' ability to go to the other Claremont colleges to partake in their dining. And obviously that's an important experience we hope to really get back to for the spring semester. But I wanted to highlight that we've made some changes to how students will then access dining here at Pitzer to help accommodate for the fact that they can't go to the other colleges like they typically have. One of those really big changes is that our McConnell dining hall from Monday through Friday doesn't have any closed periods between meals like it usually did. And so a student from 7 a.m. all the way until 7 p.m. can walk into the dining hall and use one swipe or multiple swipes during one stop at the dining hall to get a meal. And that might be they just grab hot food, or they could grab hot food for breakfast and get a boxed lunch at the same time if they're headed to Pomona for class or headed to a different campus for the day. And so they've done a lot to try to do pre-order with those boxed meals, as well as just use an extra swipe and pack food right there to take with you for the day. And so that is new, that there's no closures between meals. And then there's also extended hours. You'll see that on the right-hand side here, the Shakedown Cafe typically was flex only. We are going to allow folks to use their meal swipes at the Shakedown this year. And that's going to be kind of our late night dining option, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. So they can use meal swipes all up until 11 p.m. in case they, have a late night activity that they are doing. And our Pit Stop Cafe as well is going to have kind of a preset menu that students can use their flex for just a single a la carte item or two, but they can also use a meal swipe there and get kind of, sandwich, chips, and a drink. If they're on the way to class and would rather not, wait in a line at McConnell, or, maybe they like the meal menu better over at the Pit Stop. So just some expanded options I wanted to highlight that it's definitely on our mind, making sure students have good food access for our fall semester. I always get the question about laundry on MoveIn Day, so I'm proactively addressing it here. We do have something called Claremont Cash. So if you're keeping track, your student's ID card is going to get them into their room, into the exteriors of the building. It's going to get them access to their meal swipes. It's going to get access to the flex dollars that are part of their meal plan, and it'll get them access to Claremont Cash. Claremont Cash is a credit that you can help load onto your student's ID card yourselves. The student can do it as well. You can make a deposit here at the Connection. Connection is our card services office on campus. Those Claremont Cash dollars can be used in the dining hall as well in case they run out of meals and they need to buy an extra meal, or they're out of flex. They can use that Claremont Cash on their ID card to do those extra meals. It can definitely be used for laundry, mostly is what folks use it for. And so I wanted to highlight that that's how folks pay for laundry. You don't have to send quarters with your students to campus. It'd be great to preload the ID card. Those dollars don't expire at the end of the semester or anything like that. They carry forth all 4 years on campus, and if there's anything left at the end, you can request a refund. And so those are a little different than flex, which do expire. There is a laundry room located on every floor or every building of our residence halls, and so they'll have laundry room access. And there is a service that I wanted to highlight too called 5C Laundry. If your student would rather send out their laundry, again, there's a cost to that. It's a local company, but we've found that students sometimes really appreciate knowing that that's an option as well, the idea to send out their laundry. I wanted to highlight important future dates. I think folks are always thinking ahead about kind of buying those plane tickets home for winter break, or when can I see somebody for fall break? What kind of plans does my student have? So I'm not going to run this through point by point, but you can find all these dates more on our 4-year planning calendar. You can just Google Pitzer 4-year planning calendar. It's going to give you these dates and more for all 4 years in the future. So you can start looking at kind of what this timing looks like. Everything from when do we open each fall to when is graduation, when do we close the residence halls. We do close the residence halls for winter break. The only residence halls that remains open is the Pitzer at CCA experience. That's our apartment style living. It does remain open for the winter break. Everything else will close that December 18th at noon, and we'll reopen for the spring semester on that January 16th. And we do still have meal plans active during all the other breaks. So spring break, fall break, Thanksgiving, all those other breaks, we do have meal plans active. It's just the winter break that we do not. And then we close down the residence halls. And I think that was a lot of what I wanted to share. So I'll pass it back to Sandy to wrap up us up so we can get some questions going.
And thank you, Kirsten. I have to share with you all, the tremendous work of the Residence Life team in partnership with so many offices on campus who have really been working around the clock to prepare for not only the early arrival of our students and their support, but also our upcoming move-in. And so, you know, we couldn't be more grateful for the leadership of the team in this exciting venture for our community. So I just wanted to highlight a few upcoming sessions, COVID expectations and Pitzer's pathway forward overview. So we'll be able to check in about any questions. We know that questions continue to come in through Ask Cecil, which is wonderful. And we continue to update our FAQs online as those questions emerge. We'll also have a presentation by Career Services later on, and then a session with Student Health Services Director, Dr. Jindal, and myself regarding, you know, our care for students in response to COVID-19 and holistic well-being. And so I think at this point we're, you know, at a place where, you know, we're very happy to be able to take any questions if there are any at this time.
Sandy, there are a couple in the chat about student employment that maybe I should answer really briefly that might help. One question is, do you hire student lifeguards? I am aware that Pitzer students have worked as lifeguards on the other campuses. Miriam, if you want to jump in on that?
Sure. Yes, we do. And so Brad talked a little bit about Handshake. So all of those positions are posted there. So they'll just kind of use that portal as a way to show interest. We also hire students for all of our sporting events, right? So we need students to help, you know, shag balls whenever balls get kicked, you know, for soccer, or to help film, or if there's anybody who's interested in calling the game, right? Like those types of things, we also hire students for those as well. So all posted within Handshake.
And if I can, I'll just use this as an opportunity briefly to highlight what Miriam is saying, is that, you know, a lot of on-campus jobs are at Pitzer, on Pitzer's campus, but they can be through Pomona-Pitzer athletics, as Miriam just talked about, or students can work at the Claremont College of Services offices that Sandy mentioned earlier, places like the library, the identity affinity groups, those things. Really briefly, there was a question too about if on-campus employment and work study were different in terms of how students seek positions, you know, find those postings on Handshake and come to the on-campus job fair. The process is similar, whether the student is work study eligible or non-work study eligible. On that student employment information form that I mentioned earlier, the student will let the supervisor or the hiring person know if they're work study eligible or not. Then in terms of accessing the positions, that process is similar.
And I'll jump in. I know there's another question in the chat about women's water polo being offered as club or IM sport. It actually currently is just a varsity sport. However, those who are interested in kind of starting clubs or other IM teams, certainly just connect with the director of sports, intramurals, clubs, and recreation. So that position actually is vacant right now. However, if you email me, I can make sure that we start to talk about it and it gets to the right folks. One other thing that I also mentioned is if you go to sagehens.com, there is a long list of all of the offerings that we have. And I only mentioned a couple, but it's like surfing, equestrian, there's a lot. So feel free to visit that website to take a look there.
I was just going to address the question about Zoom meetings. So I'm 100% in agreement about wanting to transition to more in-person opportunities. I'm being a bit more conservative during orientation this year because of the Delta surge. And students coming internationally from domestically, kind of all over the place, and wanting to kind of get everyone settled here, everyone tested, and understanding they're in such close quarters. I would hate for them to miss out on any part of orientation or the beginning of the school year because they've been exposed. And so I am full in support of eliminating or decreasing Zoom meetings kind of once it's safer, but during orientation, I really want to make sure that everyone can access the information as safely as possible.
There's
oh, go ahead, Miriam.
You go.
I was going to talk briefly about the couple MoveIn Day questions that we had on the chat here. And so one of the questions was just about the, if you got a later move-in time, if you got that 2 to 4 p.m. move-in time, can you come later, earlier in the day to do some of the suggested activities? Yes, you can. We do ask that folks go through our check-in line, the drive-through line to get your actual student ID card. Hopefully go through that as close to your assigned time as possible. We are, trying to social distance, trying to make sure that that check-in line doesn't get overwhelmed and we back up cars all the way up the street. So as much as you can, that would be great. But if you do want to park somewhere else on campus and not check in, we don't want you to check it in at like noon, but if you want to park somewhere else on campus and walk over to the different activities to get that wellness kit, to chat with the advancement office, to go to the Pitzer store, you could do those things before you officially check in, yes. We're just hopefully having people go through the actual drive-through check-in line as close to their move-in time as possible to help us out. So there was that question. And then there's another question here about the COVID testing requirement for move-in. Again, we'll cover a little bit more at our next session. That's more about specifically about COVID. But we do have some really good FAQs on this on our Pitzer Pathway website. That talks to all different kind of how do we achieve the 3 days before move-in, getting a PCR COVID test. We try to answer all your questions on those FAQs. So really, ideally, you're getting that PCR test 3 days before move-in. If you move in on Saturday, that's on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. To get that PCR test. And we understand that depending on where you are internationally, nationally, access to that testing is proving difficult for some. And so we've given some options on those FAQs. If you have to do it a couple days before, 3 days ahead of time, that's okay. We know it's not as good, but we will take it. We know folks are doing their best to navigate this. If you need to just do it 1 or 2 days before arrival, that's okay. Please note, again, we have great vaccination rates among our students. So if your student shows up and they just were not able to do any of those things, but you made a really good faith effort, we will talk with you on move-in day. We're going to get your student tested at Student Health Services as soon as possible. And we're going to work with them to, hopefully get those results pretty quickly as well. But please do your best to navigate that in your local areas as well. And then that same requirement is for move-in helpers to either show us a vaccination card upon arrival or show us a negative PCR test 3 days before. And if folks don't have those for move-in helpers, we're not going to be able to let them come into the halls for helping with move-in. There was one other Res Life question I'll answer, and then I'll give it back to Miriam, but just about CCA. Yes, CCA is open during the winter break. It's included in the cost. It's kind of one of the perks of being in our apartment style, that is apartment style. It doesn't close like our residence halls do on main campus. So they can leave belongings in their rooms at CCA during the winter break. It's not an extra charge for that or anything like that. I see more questions. I'll try to answer in the chat and I'll let Miriam take it next.
You can absolutely continue, Kirsten. I actually answered this question in the chat, so you're good.
Sometimes it's just fun to type things. The address for the Amazon box, there's not an address. You need to just Google Amazon box. What's it called? Someone help me. Lizzie. Amazon.
It's Lizzie, and just if you put in 91711, which is our zip code, Lizzie will show up.
Yep. So search for Lizzie, search for the box, and then when you search for it, you should be able to save it as one of your shipping addresses, and then you should go shopping in Amazon and ship to that address. So it's kind of backwards. You have to put the address in first and then go shopping to ship to it. And the re-room sale will be happening on move-in days. It's going to start up on first year move-in day. I think they're going to have the same hours as our move-in is. So 8 to 5 on that Saturday. And it is really first come, first serve. So if folks want to stop by the re-room sale and again, not go through the move-in line, you can pop over the re-room sale as well earlier in the day.
I did want to share with you all that, yes, I see some questions here indicating whether or not we will be here at move-in. Yes, we will all be here. We'll be stationed throughout the campus, but you will likely probably run into one of us throughout the day. Feel free to, stop by and ask any questions if you have any. We're happy to help. And in terms of there was a question about whether you needed to bring your physical vaccination record card. You can bring the photo. If you have a photo of it, that's perfectly fine. We're planning to have some of our staff support from Student Health Services to be able to assist us as well. I think we've covered all of the questions. Jill, is there anything on your end that you see that we haven't answered?
I don't think so. I've been scrolling around too, and I see how quickly people are getting to these questions. So yeah,
I was just going to say that students have been emailed their box information to their Pitzer email account, and it's also on their Pitzer student portal. Their box number is, and so have your student log in and they can get their box number.
I did see that someone had raised their hand. I don't know if they still have their question or if they put it into the box, the question and answer. But yeah, any other details coming to mind that these questions remind you of?
I was just going to say that for international students, there's an international student orientation on Friday, August 20th and Saturday, August 21st. And one of the tasks or responsibilities that the students are going to be doing during that time as a group is going to some of our local banks. And if they want to open up an account, they can. And so if you have more information about international student orientation, you can contact myself or Todd Suzaki, and we will make sure that you are in the loop about that.
And we also have a session with Todd Thursday, so there's additional time to talk. Will the mailroom be open Saturday, move-in day?
All day, 8 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, okay. All right, well, it looks just a call for any last questions from anyone. Let's see.
So information about mailroom. So usually when you order through Amazon, there's a shipping option, and sometimes Amazon lockers, usually Amazon lockers are an option to ship to, and you just put in our zip code, and Lizzie is the name of our locker. And then, yeah, we're going to do our best effort to get all the packages into students' room if they arrive by Thursday. But if the packages are not in your room when you move in, you can just swing by the mailroom and pick them up.
I did just want to take 1 second to highlight, because a lot of the great questions coming in are about move-in day, because hey, that's what's on folks' mind. It's coming up quick. We do have that really great website that highlights kind of the who and what for move-in day. I'm going to share screen here in a second, but it's got move-in day maps specifically I wanted to point folks to, which I think is really helpful as you visualize kind of where you're going to go and what you need to do each day. And we've put some new content on that site in the last couple days here that really does walk you through the day from pre-arrival, like what you need to do in advance, which includes doing our Healthy Pitzer daily screening form. So you need to have done that and have proof that you've done that, the documentation we need you to have. And then all the way through to you're actually moving into your room and what do you do after you're done moving into your room. So all those details are on that transition website, and I'll drop the link here too.
I would just like to highlight that, in case you haven't heard from your students, they are already starting to reach out to our transportation support services supervisor to access our green bike program so that we can get a head start in getting bikes prepared for access. Also, a new partnership we have with Claremont Dial-A-Ride, which is a local curbside pickup to curbside drop-off. Let's say, for example, if your student wanted to go, down to the farmer's market on Sunday and wanted a ride, there's a booklet that they can access and take a group of friends. Each person, it's an additional $1 per person that they can add to be able to have a shared ride together. And they can coordinate ahead of time. The pickup, it'll take them to the Montclair local mall area as well. Our goal is to also, again, going back to the community connections and bonding and being able to provide students outlets so that they can engage in community and most importantly with each other. And so we are continuing to work on solidifying a shuttle plan that will primarily focus on transportation from CCA, residential community to Pitzer, and then near the Tranquata area on campus, again, through student voice feedback that we're anticipating that'll run from Thursday at 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. from Thursday through Saturday. And we will continue to evaluate that program in partnership with our student senate government leaders.
I got my website working, so I did want to answer one more question in the chat live here, but this is the student transition website I put in the chat. Here are the maps for move-in day. And someone asked about like where you can long-term park if you're going to come a little early. You want to go to the map that talks about after move-in. You see the big parking Ps. So we're just trying to keep our East Mesa lot clear for those students who are moving into our first year communities. We ask folks not to long-term park in the East Mesa parking lot, which is down here where the reroom sale is. But you can park over here in any of the parking spots indicated. And then we also have street parking south on Claremont Boulevard, all the way down Claremont Boulevard is street parking. That's okay for the day as well. So you can take advantage of that if you need to come a little early, find a spot. And here is kind of the information I was talking about that we updated recently. That's got kind of your pre-arrival checklist, like make sure you do these things before you come to campus that day, like write down your room number and building, because I don't have that for you at move-in day unless we look it up in a system, and hopefully your student knows that by now. So know their room number and building. And then what does check-in look like? And if your student's checking in at CCA because they're a sophomore at CCA, then there's a different space that you need to check into. So just a reminder of the 2 different check-in locations for our Sunday move-in day. Moving into the room, what should you do? We're asking for a few COVID safety things there too, like open up the windows, keep the doors open during move-in, reduce the number of people inside the space. Hopefully, the RA is going to pop by and say hi. After move-in, please move your vehicle to one of those long-term parking spots, and then you can do some of these activities as well. And that orientation session begins at 7 o'clock that first night. We've got all of our COVID safety stuff during move-in here as well, and then a few other tabs that you can explore. But that's kind of the new info with those first 4 tabs.
And I saw a few questions emerge about student health services, and I would encourage folks to attend the session later today with Dr. Jindal and I, so that we can, cover some of those student health facing related questions at that time.
And I've gotten the question a few times, just to answer it quick. The folks that are, we're limiting folks to just 2 move-in helpers on move-in days, and folks saying like, I've got our son or daughter, we can't leave at home. Can we bring 3 people instead? And again, we're just asking again to de-densify and to get some good social distancing going. That yes, you can bring that extra person. They need to have the PCR COVID test or be vaccinated as well. We just can't have more than 2 people inside the buildings at any one time, so they can hang out on the mounds and explore, and you can kind of switch off who needs to be inside the building to actually help your student move in. But we have a very open and friendly campus as far as walking around and enjoying the outdoors. So that's still a possibility, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I see some folks on our panel are still answering some questions in the Q&A. I did want to say that there is a reception on Saturday night and Sunday night hosted by the alumni and family engagement team, 6:30 to 7:30, both nights in the academic quad, West Hall. You'll see more information when you get here. Any last, so folks are typing, so we want to make sure you have the opportunity to finish those. And I just do want to echo what Sandy said about coming back for the COVID-19 expectations, guidelines, and live Q&A at 10:30 this morning. 1:30 today, we have career services with Brad Tharpe and Teresa Roberts talking about more in detail and important information families are always glad to know as soon as they can know. And then finally at 2:30, Student Health Services Fall 2021 updates and Q&A with Dr. Jindal and Sandy. So with that, Shall we hang on while some of these questions are being typed? Kirsten, it looks like you're typing. Okay, I want to just to thank this panel so much for your participation and all the information, and just say as well how much we appreciate this, and as many of the family folks have said online. With that, we will, please, if you can't find your question on the FAQ, you can email any of the folks that you've met here today. So there is a way to get your questions answered. But thank you so much, the audience, and again to the participants on panel for such a great and informative session. Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.